We don't care what political affiliation you are. We don't care if we had churches and we had porn companies, like we had everyone in between. If we could align on one thing, which is that people deserve unconditional support and resources. And if you could support us with no agenda, because we didn't have an agenda, so you couldn't tell us you have to do this or this or this, we could partner with you.
Welcome to Journeys Through Change, a podcast that inspires women to let go of the fear and say yes to possibility. I'm your host, Noelle Van, an author, creator, and empowerment coach who spent years in corporate America helping innovators and leaders ride the waves of change with ease and grace. I now work with women to step into change and unleash the power they have to create a life they love. Whether you're contemplating a change in your career, relationship, health, lifestyle, or anything in between, nothing's off the table. I'll be offering up simple insights to help you manage the ups and downs of change and sharing interviews with successful women who took a leap of faith to create the life they knew they were meant to live, sharing their wisdom, advice, and all the juicy lessons they learned along the way. So get cozy in your favorite comfy chair and let's get started. In 2009, Joy Hoover and her husband visited Las Vegas for their 4th-year anniversary. While there, they fell in love with the community and felt compelled to drop everything and move from their home in Michigan to Vegas. 4 months later, they showed up with a few suitcases of clothes in their little Jetta to embark on a mission that would change their lives. As a hair and makeup artist, Joy was often exposed to powerful stories from folks working in the adult industry. Hearing of the stigma they faced and the stories of unmet needs motivated her to start showing up to see how they could provide tangible support. What started as a simple gesture of bringing cupcakes into strip clubs and brothels ultimately led her to establish a national nonprofit that served over 10,000 individuals who were impacted by gender-based violence, trafficking, and homelessness. She found herself a decade later making million-dollar negotiations on a social impact food hall and wellness center as the founder and CEO of both a nonprofit and social enterprise. But that was just the beginning. She would soon be taking her passion for personal safety to a whole new level. Joy and her husband are now founders of Esōes Cosmetics, the first patented personal safety cosmetics line, with products combining beauty, science, and technology to fight the epidemic of drug-facilitated sexual assault and violence. She is now partnered with nonprofits and social impact companies across the U.S., bringing her 14 years of entrepreneurship experiences to link arms as a consultant with folks she considers humans who give a shit. Joy recently appeared on Entrepreneur Elevator Pitch and is a keynote speaker sharing her mission and vision to ever-growing audiences ranging from the beauty industry to universities nationwide. Joy, it is such a pleasure to have you here with us today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is so amazing because, Joy, we have a lot to talk about just in your personal story, but also what you are doing now, which I cannot wait till we get to because it's really, really cool. So let's get started. I'm gonna have you kind of start maybe at the beginning when this all sort of took shape, when you guys came out to Las Vegas for the first time. Tell us a little bit about that.
My partner and I now, we've been married for 18 years, together for 20. I grew up with him really because I was really young when I met him. And it was really interesting because when we first met, we both had this real deep passion for marginalized communities that maybe didn't feel like they belonged in society or in different workforces or groups. We came to Vegas just for fun on a vacation for our 4-year anniversary. And then we felt super compelled literally while we were here, like, wow, what work is being done here? Drove into Vegas. We ended up living with a family on an air mattress. My husband's 6'6", by the way.
Oh my God.
It was us on a double-sized air mattress. We had no idea anything about the city. But the main thing that we knew is that we really wanted to serve our community. And me doing hair and makeup, that was kind of like my background is actually fashion and hair and makeup. So people are always like, oh, what's your psychology background? Or do you have a doctorate? I'm like, nope, I'm a hairstylist. But that was a beautiful way to connect with people and to hear their stories. And in Las Vegas, the adult industry is really, really huge. They say there's over 100,000 people working in Vegas in the adult industry. And, I was doing hair and makeup and adult conventions, like just wherever. And I started hearing the stories just of the major stigmas around, these individuals that are human beings doing work for a living. And really the lack of resources that continued to affect them in so many ways. It really started because we had a client who needed a dentist really bad. She had like an abscess in her mouth. She was going to the ER 7 times. She wasn't able to work, didn't have insurance. And so I called like 20 dentists in Las Vegas and I was like, what dentist can help her? Is there one that we can get a discount, a payment plan? Like this woman is this is making a huge impact on her life. So I ended up finding one. I drove her to the dentist. Like it really made a massive impact on her life just getting her teeth fixed. And I thought, well, if we could do that for her, what could we do for other people? And
Yeah.
so we started going in and listening to the stories. We'd hear about custody cases with clients. We'd hear about domestic or sexual violence happening. We'd hear about issues with education or with other careers or with stalking or, all these different things. And I'm a 23-year-old hairstylist, right? I
Right.
really have no idea what I'm doing, but I started bringing in volunteers and we started just showing up and then just really going out into the community to say, okay, we really need a doctor. We need a chiropractor. This woman needs help with her GED, whatever we would be what we were asked. So we would go in and be like, if you need anything, give us a call. And they're like, what do you mean? What do you have? They're like, do you have a babysitter? Do you have this? We're like, yeah, just give us a call, right? So it was just like, early on was just like meeting those needs. We would do baby showers. We found girls that were dancing 8 months pregnant in strip clubs. They had nothing for their babies, so we would do baby showers. We found, women who were literally like in a hospital. They overdosed. Someone dropped them off at the hospital door and they had one bag of clothes to their name. And early on, it was literally like, okay, we're going to detox you on our couch. Like, guess we don't know what else to do. And we really did not know what we were doing. And we're not prioritizing safety in any way. So I always say, like, those early days, thank goodness, nothing worse happened. One time we moved actually from our apartment to another apartment because we found one of the girls' traffickers was living in our apartment complex.
Oh my God.
Like the stories were wild, wild. What kept us going was that it was those stories, right? It was
Yeah.
real everyday needs that were not being met in our community. And it was because they were looked at as kind of the untouchable society. Or I had one girl tell me, people look at drug dealers better than they look at sex workers. Like no one will give us a chance. And it's better to reintegrate into society from jail. I kept hearing these things. And so, yeah, we ended up building a national nonprofit both in Vegas. We had a branch in Portland and we served clients all over the nation, even started serving some in other countries. We're able to partner with hundreds of companies that cared in our community. We found people who were like, oh, you need a health coach, you need a financial advisor, you need a hairstylist, and so it was really cool because what we found is, trafficking wasn't even talked about in 2010. And so we were kind of on the front lines of like learning. I learned about trafficking from a client.
Oh my God.
Like literally, she told me her story.
But the thing that is so amazing to me, Joy, is like how you were able to band together volunteers. I mean, this was obviously a grassroots effort. You're 23 years old.
Yep.
You're coming into this new town. It's like, hi, everybody, just trying to get to know you. And then you've got this cause that you're working for. Did you feel like it just grew and grew and grew kind of beyond what you had expected really quickly? Or was it something that took several years? Like, how did you get from where you were to then like something national and then international, like you just said?
Yeah, it really did snowball and it really was a movement, right? It was a movement really to unite on one thing. We were like, we always said this. We're like, we don't care what political affiliation you are. We don't care if we had churches and we had porn companies, like we had everyone in between. If we could align on one thing, which is that people deserve unconditional support and resources. And if you could support us with no agenda, because we didn't have an agenda, so you couldn't tell us you have to do this or this or this, we could partner with you. I mean, I still talk with volunteers now who are like, that was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. We started doing this. AVN is an adult video network, and it's a convention in Vegas every year. It's the largest adult convention in the world. Thousands and thousands of people came every year. It changed a little bit post COVID, but so we'd get 100 volunteers for that event, get a suite at the hotel, which it was at the Hard Rock, and we'd have hair and makeup artists, massage therapists, yoga practitioners. We'd have chefs, we'd have,
Oh,
all different people. And I can tell you, probably one of the most beautiful experiences what we ended up partnering then, we again getting sponsors, like $50,000 in sponsorships for this suite with adult companies, again, churches, like everyday businesses. For me, all of the work can be summed in this one moment when we had different areas of suite, and I went up to the meditation suite, and we had a beautiful trans man and a sex worker who were doing yoga and different like breathing practices. And it's really, really stressful. Every conference is stressful, but this one specifically, it's very stressful for the women that are working it. And sometimes they can get sick. They even called it like the avian flu. They would get really, really sick from it because of just everything going on, late nights and all that. So I go up to this suite. I walk into this room and it's just like so peaceful. And I see these two working together with, tons of women doing different breathing techniques and doing yoga. And then in walks in another volunteer. Now, that volunteer, it was a super conservative Catholic woman who was actually arrested in her early days for picketing abortion clinics.
whoa.
And it was the same thing with her. I was like, if you can align with our values and she was there to serve drinks and food to the people in there, and they were working together. And it was like, it's really hard in the world today, right? Because like, I don't agree with a lot of people, but I do believe that we can all work together. And I personally believe that there's like 10% extreme fundamentalist progressive and 10% extreme fundamentalist conservative that are really impacting the world in negative ways. And yet I believe there's this 80% in the middle that just want to do good. And that's what I've always said. Like, we got tons and tons of negative feedback and hate from both of those extremes, but we always were focused on building in the middle and building the hundreds of volunteers, the hundreds of partners, and meeting the immediate needs of the people that came with us. My last year in 2020, we served 763 clients during a global pandemic.
Whoa.
We brought teams together across the United States to raise $446,000 in a peer-to-peer fundraiser with, I think we ended up with 5,000 donors and like almost 300 people in like 26 states that worked with us to raise money. So it truly was a movement.
You bring up a really good point. It's kind of like the human spirit comes through in a lot of ways. Like, you don't expect it. And then when you see it, you're kind of like, well, yeah, that is what we're all about, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it sounds a little Pollyannish, but it's like that drives it home when you see something like that, where it's like people just put their stuff on the doorstep and come and help. That's all they're doing. That is amazing. So this all is happening. You're going to these conferences. So then what happens next? What are you building from there?
What we found is one of the biggest hurdles of our clients was jobs. And so a lot of what we learn, right, in sexual and domestic violence and trafficking is that the reason people go back to their abusers and perpetrators is because of financial dependence. And so if clients wanted to leave the adult, there comes to a point where you kind of have to age out. If they wanted to leave, what could they put on their resumes? So we started getting really creative with resumes. We started helping with education, getting GEDs, but we still found that it was very difficult to get hired. And especially if they did get hired, to be hired in a trauma informed space. So, really, one thing happened that changed the trajectory of the next step for me was that we had a client we were serving who had extreme, extreme violence since she was a toddler. And she had been working with our team of therapists, going to group therapy, just going through all of our trauma informed programming. And she went from like, she wouldn't even look at us when she came in to like, the light was back in her eyes. And she said, my dream is to bake. Like, I always wanted to bake. And so we helped get her a job, and she was working for this company. They were doing catering, they were doing all kinds of really, and she would walk back into our office and like her face would light up. She's like, I got to tell my son that I made these different things today. And it was like so beautiful. But then all of a sudden, one day she comes in and she's back looking down, and that light is gone. Really, it like stopped me in my tracks. I said, what happened? And she said, they fired me. And we said, why? Like, what happened? And she said, well, they asked me to make a mac and cheese dish for a catering event that day. And I had a full PTSD meltdown from the trauma I had as a child around mac and cheese. And they didn't know what to do with me. So they fired me. And when I tell you how mad I was irate, 'Cause I'm like, are you kidding me? This person who went through literally 18 months to get to that place
Yes.
and
Yes.
has one episode where she was so triggered and you fire her? Like, what the actual? And so literally I was like, whatever. Well, my dream had been at the time to have a wellness space, to have all the clients we were serving and all the resources we had all in one space, because oftentimes like we don't have great public transportation here. So that was a big barrier for clients. And so I was pregnant with my second daughter. This was 2016. And I was like, you know what? How do we create something? How do we create something? We just do it. So I literally like found some photos online of like what I would want.
Uh-huh.
And I put them in a PowerPoint and I called as many donors as I could across the US who'd been supporting us. And I said, I'm going to do a tour to start raising money for a holistic resource center and social enterprise. The idea was we had, the space where they could heal. We could have all our resources in one space, but then we had businesses in the space where we had like a kind of a food hall, but it was a social enterprise food hall. We also had a hair salon. We had all these components so they could learn business skills, but also if they got triggered, they could come on over to the wellness space and meet with their case manager and be able to be helped still. And so I'm telling you, I went and I proposed this idea and I was like, we're raising money. I had no idea how much money we needed. I mean, I didn't even have an architect or anything at that time. I was like, we're doing this. This was in 2016. I traveled until I couldn't travel anymore because I was too pregnant. And then I started looking for investors to buy a building with us because I didn't even know what that entailed. But I was like, it seems like that's what we need. And then and then I knew we
Oh my
wanted a
God.
specific space in Las Vegas. I always said like if we are going to impact the community, the city, we need to go to the heart of it. The heart is downtown Las Vegas. And so we literally moved our family from like the southwest side of town in Vegas to downtown Las Vegas, bought a home in downtown Las Vegas. When I was literally 36 weeks pregnant, we moved in.
Oh my God, Joy. Because you needed to be close to this.
Yeah, it was like we're going to go in, do this, we're going to go all in. So yeah, then it was just so amazing how things started to align. The more I started stepping up into it, the more I started telling people, okay, now we're going to need a crew of construction people, an architect. We're going to, it's all this thing. And all those people, like someone was like, oh yeah, call this person, do this, do this. And I was able to bring on an architect for 18 months who donated all his time to design an entire building out. Oh, by the way, we also got an investor. So we lost 8 buildings that we were trying to get. It was like years and years and years, 3 years of finding a building, finding an investor, the investor pulling out, someone coming in and cash buying. Like it was just so
Oh my
wild,
God.
so discouraging. And then finally in 2019, we found a building that we were like, this is the one. We didn't have money. And so we were going to co-sign actually on this multi-million-dollar building, me and my husband, and we found another couple that could too, and they were going to do it with us.
Oh my God.
I'm glad that didn't happen. But yeah, so anyway, we find this building, but the owner is like not a good person at all. And so we were still going to go in business with him because we're like, this is the building, we're not going to pass it up. Well, this is a cool story because my therapist at the time, who was also a partner of our nonprofit, he said, this is weird, but the guy that bought our building, you know him. I introduced you to him 10 years ago, and I mentioned something about you, and he remembers you. And would you be interested in meeting with him because he buys buildings and works with with agencies? And I was like, yes, please. So would you believe that on a Friday night, he gives me his info. I call him. Saturday morning, he calls me back. He goes, I remember you. I remember everything you've done. I've been following the work that you've done. Please send me over all your financials. Let's talk about getting you this building because he actually needed to buy something before year end. This was
Oh my
like
God.
September or something like that. And we had everything by that point. We had everything lined up. We had great financials. We had like all of our plans on how we were going to do it. Like it was really, really clear. So I sent him everything over. He goes, these are some of the best financials I've ever seen. He's like, I'm coming there this weekend. He was in California. And he's like, let's go see the building. So I
Oh my
go
God.
meet him that day. But then the owner starts getting super shady because he finds out we're working with a big investor who knows how to buy properties and he couldn't screw us over anymore. Long story short, we work with this investor, go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The investor was just the most loveliest, like 80-year-old white man. Like we called him our angel, like at the point, because he is negotiating with this guy on our behalf. And the guy is being horrible to us. And he's like, no, you're not going to do that. No, you're not going to do that. And we signed paperwork in December of 2019 to own a building.
As we all know, change is inevitable. Sometimes it comes out of nowhere, leaving us to pick up the pieces and navigate our way through the unknown. Other times it's a decision we've made to step into a bigger version of ourselves or find more joy or fulfillment in our lives. Day by Day book was designed to help you face the discomfort of those shifts in life that are pushing you to that next level of growth and learning. It's a guided journal with a simple tracking system to manage your daily well-being during challenging times, setting you up for success no matter what life throws your way. Join our community of over 15,000 changemakers and get started on your daybook journey today. The time is now to step into change to create a life you love. To get your Day by Day book, go to livedaybyday.com. From the moment that you had this idea, right? So this came to you. And I mean, you strike me, Joy. I don't know you well, but you strike me from what I know about you so far as you are a go-getter. You just get it done. Like you don't even think twice. But can you tell me, like, were there moments, because it sounds like you and your husband, you invest big, right? You will go all in if it means move the family, so like you guys your heart is in it.
Yeah.
When you had these moments, were there ever moments where you were like, what the F?
Oh, like a million.
What is it that kept you going?
I'll say one specific time. So I was meeting with this huge team of construction people who were actually going to donate their time and actually build out half of our building. The problem was we kept getting bought out of buildings, so we didn't have a building.
Right.
And so I was still trying to keep them like, no, we're going to do this. We're going to do this, right? So it was like 10 a.m. and I get a call, and the building that we're going to talk to this group at noon about tells me the building sold. You now have no building. When I tell you I laid on my floor of my office and sobbed, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is so exhausting. I'm working 80 plus hours a week. I have 2 kids, like, a lot of personal stuff going on. And I'm like, I can't do this. And one of my staff members actually came in and she looked at me and she said, I need to tell you something. I said, okay. She goes, cry it out for 10 more minutes and then wipe your tears. We have a meeting at noon. And I was like, all right, you're 100% right.
Yes.
So we met with them at noon and kept them inspired. And I was like, we're in the process of another building, and we weren't.
Oh my God.
Right? But that's what you have to do in entrepreneurship. Like, no one is coming for you. Literally no one. So you have to come for yourself over and over and over. And I could tell you literally 100, probably at this point, thousands of stories of the moments where I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm so done. I never even had insurance. I was running a multi-million-dollar operation, being paid so little, never having insurance, but the work, it didn't matter to me because the clients are really what drove me. And this girl with the mac and cheese, she was still coming in.
Yeah.
Sometimes, we'd have women come in and a t-shirt and underwear running from their pimp. Like, we'd have crazy stuff that was happening.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I can't give up. Like, these women are going to continue to keep going. How do I not,
Right.
And that's really what continued to move us. I joke and I used to say, like, I allowed myself to quit for a day. Like, when things got really bad, I'm like, I quit. And my husband's like, sure, go ahead. And I'm like, you can go back to work tomorrow, right? You can rehire yourself tomorrow. It was the work. It was the clients. And little things would happen where we'd get a call from a client we saw 8 years before who was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I'm, out of an abusive situation. I'm married. I'm like living, these different things where it's like clients would tell us they're safer or they're doing something that they dreamed of doing, or, they're housed now, or, they have their kids back, or they're not struggling with substance use disorder anymore. Like, we had clients say, I would have died without your services. I literally wouldn't be here without you.
Oh my God. See, enjoyed that. I think that's the fuel for it, right? I mean, that just keeps it going.
Absolutely.
You have moved into this, and I just want to be conscious of our time here because
Yeah.
we got something to cover. Because your latest, I'm saying latest because I know that you're just going to go on and on and on. But Tell us about this new enterprise. Tell us about this new product.
In 2021, I was like really frankly pissed off because like we've been doing this work for almost 12 years. The numbers of violence were actually not only not decreasing, but they were actually increasing by 2.9% year over year. And I have two little girls at home. And we also have a very intense story that as we're doing this work, we are the 911 phone call for so many people that we actually lost my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law's final words were in a 911 phone call. We lost her at the hand of my father-in-law and my brother-in-law also's life. So all three lives were lost that day.
Oh my God.
As we started healing from that and doing a ton of deep therapy, it was always kind of in the back of our minds, like, how can we honor her, but really end generational violence in our family too? So it's 2021. I'm coloring with my 4-year-old daughter at the time. I always asked them for ideas. I said, what should we do next to help people? And my daughter Ruby says, well, you like lipstick, right, Mommy? I said, I do like lipstick. I raised you well. She goes, can we do lipstick next? And I was like, I don't know.
Ooh, from the mouths of babes.
I know. I always tell her, she's the chief fun officer, by the way.
I love it.
I started researching. I wasn't sleeping a lot during that time because I was like just in such a wild spot. And so I started researching what there was in cosmetics. I was shocked to find there wasn't anything. So I called a patent attorney and I was like, help me research. Like, am I missing something? And they're like, no. And so in October of 2021, I filed a patent for cosmetics with safety features.
Nice.
I brought in 100 community members who had supported us in previous ventures into my backyard. Everyone signed NDAs. And I launched the concept of Esōes Cosmetics. We didn't have a logo. We didn't have literally anything. We had a PowerPoint that looks terrible now when I look back at it. But I launched this idea of a lipstick that could test your drink. And technology, we weren't really even talking about the technology component at that point. There were audible wows in my backyard. People going, oh my God, this is such a good idea. And so we raised the first $25,000 in with friends and family, just of people who are like, I was like, I'll give you the first lipstick. I'll give you a sweatshirt. Like, I don't know. They're like, we love you. It's okay.
That's support too. That is support.
And spent 2022 and 2023 building out, the whole concept, bringing on a team of scientists and engineers, bringing on advisors who were in this, because this is like a full-blown startup. And while I raised investments with a startup before, this is not real estate. This is a CPG. This is a product company, which everyone's like, you're creating a femtech hardware company in 2022? Like, that's okay. All right. Nothing stops you. I see that. It was $1 trillion less raised last year than the year before. And women only get 2% of venture capital as it is.
Right.
But of course, I never know how outrageous I am until people start looking at me and I'm like, oh, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. Well, too late now. I'm already doing it.
That's the way to go, though. Hey, it's good to be that way than the other way, right? I mean, you're jumping in with both feet.
Yeah. And I mean, here I am creating a product with science and technology. Yeah. Neither of those, I told you I'm a hairstylist. I didn't learn those things. But here's what I did is that when we applied for the patent, there was one thing that tried to go to market 6 years ago, which was supposed to be a nail polish that you like dip your finger in your drink and it changes color if it detects drugs. Mm-hmm. And so I never saw that product on the market, but I did see their patent. So I was like, I wonder if the scientist is still around. I found him on LinkedIn and I messaged him for 8 months.
Oh my God.
And I just kept messaging him because he was like a new dad. He was like doing a new company, but I was just like, you seem to know what you're doing. And every other scientist that I'm interviewing right now is telling me it's going to take them 2 years and $1 million. And I don't have either of those. And I know that you can do this. And so you've done it before, or you at least know. So it was like absolutely amazing because May of 2022, and my advisors the whole time are just like, who is this girl? Like, what in the... And I tell them, like, he's going to take a meeting with me. He emails me back and says, I'll take a meeting with you. Not only him, but he brings the head engineer from that company into a meeting. And the first thing they asked me is, are you trying to make a lipstick that changes color of the lipstick if it detects drugs? And I said, no. And they go, okay, good. We'll keep talking to you. Because they go, we tried that for 5 years. The efficacy is not correct. It's not going to work. I was like, okay, perfect.
Oh, good. Been there, done that. Great. We can move on
I was
then.
like, we just want to do a test strip. We want to do a roofie test, a benzodiazepine test strip, which is roofies, Xanax, Klonopin, all those benzos. And they said, well, that's what we pivoted to, so we know how to do that. That's lateral flow technology. We can do this. I was like, okay, cool. Well, we also want to do a device with a panic button and a Bluetooth. And they're like, all right, cool. Yeah, well, let's do it. Let's do it. So we brought in, like, I had to hire a whole, like, computer software engineer team to do the app, this team to do the science and technology components of the device,
Right.
and then also a lipstick manufacturer because it was still going to be lipstick. But the cool thing was I got all of them at the same to work together so we could
Nice.
build it together. And so that was a really key component that we were able to develop this whole new concept with a patent with and also as I was raising money. By the way, this is another example. I hired on those scientists and engineers and they sent me the scope of work and how much money it would cost me. Their estimate was $140,000. We had raised 25,000 at this point, and it was
Right.
pretty much gone. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. Okay, yep.
I love this, Joy. This just, oh my God. Okay. Yes.
And so I started raising money, but as I was pitching, I was pitching all these venture capitalists and all these like a lot of male investors, and the thing I kept getting over and over was, why would anyone need that product? It was enraging, truly enraging because of the work that I had done. I was like, you know what? I don't think my soul can continue to handle this, nor can our company. We will not raise money this way. So what else can I do? Well, all the money I told you, we raised, $446,000 with 300 people in 26 states. I was like, let's do that now. So I started reaching out to everyone I knew and opened up what's called an SPV, which is a special purpose vehicle fund, which allowed anyone to invest $1,000 or more. And so started bringing in people from the community. It was like, I want an all-female lead investment team. And I want it to be females and survivors because we understand this and we know there needs to be a solution.
Yes.
And would you know, I raised the first round.
Uh-huh.
My advisor was like, the money's not going to get in before the bills due. We were like 2 weeks, we would have missed it by 2 weeks. He wired me the money for the first payment, like $40,000, like a lot.
No way.
He's like, I know you're getting it. Like the money was in the investment account. I just couldn't get it wired to us quick enough to wire to them.
This is your advisor who does this?
Mm-hmm. My CFO advisor.
Oh my God.
He'd been in startups for like 15 years and he was like, you are one of the most amazing female founders I've ever met. Like what you've made happen so far. He's like, is like astounding. So yeah, he wired in the money. We did like a note of like, we're going to pay him back as soon as we get it. He wired him the money, paid them.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And that's just how this company has continued to go. Like we've just, continued. I mean, even to start the company, I had no money. Like I had literally no money. I put the patent attorney on my credit card. Like we didn't have anything. That never stopped me.
You are so driven. It's almost like the drive to make it happen. Everything else just goes away. I mean, that is the power of entrepreneurship and people that are successful in getting things done. You have the blinders on. It's like, no, it's going to show up. It's going to show up. And the fact that people that you surrounded yourself, that says so much. The people that you've surrounded yourself and that you've picked up along the way, that they're that supportive and everybody just kind of comes together to make it happen. It's like, whatever, if it's 2 weeks, take the 40,000. I believe in you. Like those are the kinds of moments where you go, okay, this is why I'm doing this.
Totally.
And this is why I'll let people look at me sideways. I'm okay with that.
I never care about that. There's no point.
No, there's no point. And you can't get stuff done that way, right?
People really barely ever tell me I can't anymore because they know I'm just going to be like, watch me. Like, right. You're on my list to show you first. Yeah, it's just like, even the city of Las Vegas, when I was trying to get that building, I was like, we're going to get a 10,000 square foot building in the arts district. They're like, I'm sorry? Like, they literally were like, maybe you should go to the medical district. Maybe you should go. And I was like, nope, we're going to the arts district. Do you know we got a 10,000 square foot building in the arts district?
I love it.
You know what I mean? So it's the same thing with this. But what's beautiful and amazing is that I truly didn't know how much the community had my back until really this third venture. Because while they supported so many other things, with this one, they literally came to me. And they were like, what are you doing next? We want to help.
Love
it was
that.
So powerful to have so many people on my cap table are people that have invested in me over and over and over. And then they brought their friends too to
Yes.
this one. They're like, no, we believe in this. Yeah, it's been plenty of face down crying on my floor moments also here.
But you know what I want to ask you, Joy, because I feel like for listeners that are trying to do something difficult,
Mm-hmm.
that in the grand scheme of things, the range of what you've done is pretty monumental. You've moved mountains in a lot of ways. But let's say you have somebody listening that's just wanting to be able to take that next step and really does have a belief and a vision and all of those things. When you were at your lowest points, like, was there anything you told yourself? Was there anything you did that got you up and moving and more? I mean, I know it's the sheer drive behind it, and that's
Yeah.
the way you're built to some degree, but like, is there any piece of advice you would give to them of like how to keep yourself going, keep yourself in that momentum?
One of the things that changed for me in 2021, because truly the previous work almost killed me. Like I was so mentally, emotionally, I was so burnt out. And I also let a lot of people that did not have my best interest in mind really, really bring me down. And that was because I was so burnt out that I wasn't aware of my surroundings, and I wasn't listening to my gut. I wasn't looking at the red flags, right? So I vowed to myself that with this venture, I would do everything I could to protect myself, my family, my company, but most of all, my mental, physical, and emotional health. And so I started asking myself, this might seem very simple, but I started asking myself every day, what do you need today?
Ooh,
What do you need? Because there was always like, do that one next step for your company or for your goal, which I did that. But before I could do that, I had to ask what I needed.
that is so good.
We're so often deprive ourselves and say like, oh, just one more step, just one more night. Like, I don't buy that anymore at all.
Yeah.
Because if we're not well, we can't do the work well, and eventually it will catch up to us. Even superheroes end up needing a break. And so sometimes that was like a monumental thing for that day, was to take a 30-minute nap.
Oh,
Like
yes.
little things, right? What I realized is when I would push through, or when I would actually ask myself that question, I was so much better taking that 30-minute nap, that the next thing I could do, I had the, mental, emotional, and physical strength so much more than I did. And I also would say, like, protect your circle. Make sure that, my therapist always has told us that there's like 3 circles. Now we call it like over the fence, the pool, and the hot tub. And you can call it whatever you want. But basically, the perspective is that there are people that don't have your best interest in mind and don't care about you. And those people are over the fence. They're looking over the fence. They're not even in your pool. They're not even on your lawn. You don't
Right.
give them a voice or a vote in what you're doing, period. That's the haters, that's the trolls, that's narcissists, it's whoever, right? But then there's people that might have your best interest in mind, but they really don't know you fully. So those people might be in your pool. Maybe they're like swimming with you and you're having some relationship with them. They get a voice, they don't get a vote. And the people in your hot tub, those people have your best interests in mind, and they truly know and believe in you. And so for me, it was like narrowing down that hot tub, which you have to do over the years. As you continue to elevate, those people will continue to get more and more toxic, and they're going to have to go over the fence, right? Like
Right.
you can't.
Right.
You
Yes.
can't.
Yes. That's such a great visual too, because it's kind of true. It's like, oh, I love that. I really do love that because it puts things into such perspective.
Mhm.
Because we kind of don't know sometimes when we're getting those mixed signals from people and we're like, well,
Right.
we know that they kind of want good for me, but you know what I mean? It's that weird
Mhm.
middle ground where you can't quite tell if you trust somebody or not. Oh, I love that. The hot tub analogy. I'm going to keep that.
Yeah, and then that, to me, the hot tub people were the ones that I would go to, right? Like, am I totally crazy? Like, what do I do? Like when things get really rough. I mean, I have one of my best friends, she's known to like come over when I'm like hurled up in my bed sobbing, and just like lays in bed with me and cries with me and just sits there. Like, she's just that person, right? And obviously my partner is like unbelievable. And so we'll never not have those moments. And depending on the personal trauma you've experienced, depending on your mental health that day, like all of the things, you have to have those people that you can go to, because otherwise you're going to constantly be confused by, honestly, the bad advice. Like the bad advice that other people give because they do it out of jealousy, they do it out of their own pain or whatever. Like, you have to be able to push past that.
Yes.
And sometimes that'll be people that are very close to you, and that's really hard. But that's where they are removed out of your circles too.
I think that does put you in a different headspace when you kind of understand that better too. And I think as we get older, it forces us to do that in a lot of ways. I think as we mature and we start to realize like, oh my gosh, okay, I was so wide-eyed and I wanted to bring everybody in and I want everybody to be excited. And then you realize, you know what, you need to be discerning about the energy that you surround yourself with at all times.
100%. I think as women too, like we look for the green flags. I'm like, don't look for the green flags. Look for the red ones. Like literally that's like my new thing. I'm like, I actually have 5 questions I ask myself about anyone that I ever meet with, whether they're trying to get closer to me as a friend, a business partner, or someone in any of my circles. I have 5 questions that I have my husband ask me.
Oh, I love that.
Because like, I think we want to give, especially if you're an empathetic person, you want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like you keep giving people these chances. And then after a while, then you're like, oh shoot, like now I'm seeing the flags. Well, sometimes that's weeks or months or years later when you realize like they've actually made a very big negative impact or they've, hurt this or they've taken something from you.
So what are those 5 questions?
Okay, so the 5 questions. How does your gut feel when you're with them? Like truly listening to your gut. A big one, are they gossiping or speaking negatively about other people? If they are talking about other people, they are going to talk about you. Do they bring out a healthier version of you or a more toxic version? Do you find yourself getting gossipy or getting toxic with them when you're around them? How do you feel after you spend time with them? Energized and positive or depleted and negative? And then the 5th one is, do their lives inspire you?
Yeah.
Are their mental, emotional, physical, financial, relational health inspire you? Like, do you look at them and go, I want to be like that? Or do you look at them and go, whoa, train wreck city? Like, no.
Right. I've already done a mental when you just said that because it's really powerful. It's like kind of putting it through a litmus test of sorts.
Right. And I think we feel guilty about that sometimes because,
Yes.
again, like, in my previous years, I told you I was having people sleep on my couch. Like, I really didn't have boundaries because I didn't understand. Glennon Doyle says, don't set yourself on fire trying to keep other people warm. Well, that's what I did so much in my
true.
life.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to see people for who they are. And I'm really hoping these questions are pretty new because it seems like every 3 years there's these shifts in our relationships it's because I'm not, even though I'm getting better, I didn't have some super clear boundaries like this.
Yeah.
So I told my husband, I'm like, I'm sick of this. Like, I don't want to keep doing this. So I was like, I'm going to create these questions and you got to ask me. And he's like, okay.
That's his job.
That's been really good.
Yes.
It's been really, really good for us because then I don't feel the guilt because I'm not getting deep with people because I already have the boundaries set, the parameters set.
That's the thing. I think that's the beauty of getting older in a way, not to say getting older, but you know what I mean? As we mature, we just start to see things more clearly and it saves so much time, so much time. But Joy, I cannot tell you, first of all, to learn more about all that Joy is doing, because we just touched the surface and I want people to be able to see this product because it's really, really, really important. And I think a lot of people are going to be wowed by what you've done so far and what you're getting ready to do because you're embarking on, I think, an explosion here. I'm going to share all of Joy's links in the show notes too, but I'm finding the words are hard because I feel like I just met you, but I feel very, very inspired by you just in your energy and what you've done. I mean, this has been years of dedication and a lot of heart in what you do. And you just keep going. I cannot wait to see what comes next. Esōes is going to be out there all over the place. And so I want people to make sure they keep an eye out for it. But Joy, thank you. Just thank you for your time and for your heart and for all that you do.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, well, that's it for now. Until next time. Thanks for listening to the Journeys Through Change podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or really wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to follow us and leave a review if you've enjoyed this episode. And share it with a friend or on social media to spread the good word, so more women like you can find us and join in on the fun. For more information on the podcast or Day by Day book, go to livedaybyday.com.